Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dave's Top 3,000 Songs of the Rock Era. Today I'm up to song number 2107, and that one is Tonight, Tonight, Tonight by Genesis. This came out in 1987. Here's a picture of the single, and was also released on their 1986 multi-platinum, international multi-platinum album called Invisible Touch. And here's a picture of Genesis around the time they recorded it. A very big group. I'll get into them in a few minutes. Had a lot of membership changes over the years. But, this was kind of during their peak with these guys. Anyway, I'm going to start by featuring a sample of the song Tonight, Tonight, Tonight. Yeah, so it goes. Okay, that's a minute or so. Tonight, Tonight, Tonight by Genesis. Maybe you guys remember they featured a very short sample of the song, a lot shorter than I just featured in a TV commercial for Michelob beer back in the 1980s, right around the time the song was a hit. And I remember the commercial. I also remember the song because I heard it a lot around that time. Very popular song, went all the way to number three. Genesis, this was about the peak of Genesis's career, I'd say, when the song came out. And I guess I'll start by talking about the song. It's actually a very dark song. You don't really get that impression from the Michelob ad, but if you watch the video, you'll see that it's a very dark and ominous looking video. And basically, what they're singing about in this song, the three of the members who wrote the song, by the way, it was Phil Collins, Tony Bank, and Mike Rutherford. They wrote this song Tonight, Tonight, Tonight. And I guess what they were trying to convey with this song was just kind of, about the frustration and stress of living in a big city. And, one part that they didn't play in the Michelob ad, please help me get me out of here. I'm going down like a monkey. I don't think that Anheuser-Busch wanted to convey that message to the people they were trying to sell their beer to. That's probably why they didn't put that part in the song. But that's what the song's really about. Very dark song. A lot of Genesis' songs were pretty dark, like this one. I was never a huge fan of Genesis, by the way. Even though they were a very hugely popular group in the mid '80s, and they started out a lot longer ago than that. I think now I'm going to talk about the group Genesis. Yeah, and they had a very, very long history. They actually were first formed back in 1967. They were a progressive rock band from a town called Godalming in Surrey, England. And the founding members were Peter Gabriel. He's not shown in this picture. He quit pretty early with them. He became a brilliant solo performer right after he quit Genesis. They also had Tony Banks, Anthony Phillips, known as Ant, Mike Rutherford, and Chris Stewart. But I think by 1975, they had to make a couple membership changes. I think, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but Anthony Phillips ended up being replaced by Phil Collins, the guy in the middle of this picture. He had a really brilliant solo career of his own. I think partly around the same time he was still with Genesis, and he was the lead when he joined the group. But well, I guess he was just doing drums and backing vocals. But then, yeah, I think it was 1975 where he became like their lead guitarist and lead vocalist and frontman. So he's kind of the one I usually associate with the group Genesis, and he's probably my favorite member of the group. I do like Peter Gabriel too, but his music's pretty weird. He was kind of a strange guy, but I do like a lot of his songs as well. But when I think of Genesis, I usually think of Phil Collins. Anyway, yeah. So and then they also replaced Chris Stewart with Steve Hackett as their drummer, and I think those are the ones shown in this picture. And like I said, they had very long history. They were originally together from '67 to 2000. They were reunited a few times after that. They reunited from 2006 to 2007, and also from 2020 to 2022. I guess they finally broke up for good in 2022, about 4 years ago. And I'm pretty sure Phil Collins died. I don't remember completely. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyway, now I'm just going to go through their hits. Their first Billboard Top 100 Hot 100 hit was called, it came out in 1977. It was called Your Own Special Way. That one went to number 62. They followed that up in the following year. I'm using the word follow a lot here. 1978 was a song called Follow You, Follow Me, which went to number 23. And then in 1980, they had a song called Turn It On Again, which went to number 58. In 81, they had Misunderstanding, which went to number 14. Abacab, which went to 26. If you're curious, Abacab, A-B-A-C-A-B, those are the note progression of their, I guess, their guitar chords. So, and then they had a song called No Reply at All, which went to number 29. And then in 1982, they had a song called Man in the Corner, which went to number 40, and Paper Late, which went to 32. I'm going to say one thing about Paper Late. You know, I had total monogram about this song when I first heard it. I had no idea. I still didn't know what Paper Late means. But I thought they were singing Hey Belletti. I thought they were talking about a friend of theirs named Belletti, probably an Italian guy, and that was his last name. So I thought he was singing Hey Belletti, Hey Belletti. It just made more sense to me. I don't know. Yeah, and then in 1983, they had a song called Mama, which went to 73. And I remember the video for that song they used to play on MTV every now and then. Pretty strange video. I mean, there's a part in the middle of the video, I guess, Phil Collins singing lead. They show him up close. And then all of a sudden he does a really long note, sustained note, and then he goes, ha, ha. He does it several times, just very, very out of place. But I guess that was part of the gimmick of that song. So I just thought I'd mention that. Pretty good song, actually. And then they followed that up with the first top 10, a song called That's All, which went to number 6. And then in 1984, they had a song called Illegal Alien, which went to number 44. I remember the video for that one as well. Phil Collins is playing the role in the video of an illegal alien, probably from Mexico, trying to get and sneak in the United States across the border. He's saying it's no fun being an illegal alien. Well, I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it never has been, and now it's worse than it's ever been with ICE. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Yeah, so unfortunately, things aren't good for illegal aliens in this country, even legal ones. And then he has a song called Taking It All Too Hard, which went to number 50. And then I guess they had a little bit of hiatus. They didn't have any hits in 85. In 1986, I think that was kind of a breakthrough year. They had their only number one song, a song called Invisible Touch. Was also the title of the album that was on that. And then they had a song called Throwing It All Away, which went to number 4. In Too Deep, which went to number 3. And Land of Confusion that went to number 4. I'm going to say a little bit about Land of Confusion. I remember the video for that song, which I really liked. They had this whole big team of puppets singing the song, and it was a very amusing song. They had puppets that were kind of satirizing real famous people like Margaret Thatcher and Queen Elizabeth II and Ronald Reagan, of course. I think Ronald Reagan ended up accidentally pressing a button because he was calling for his nurse. pretty, I don't know, pretty black humor, I guess. But I did like that video. They also spoofed the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey because there's a scene where one of the puppets throws a bone way up in the air. It doesn't turn into a spaceship; it just falls back down to Earth. Anyway, just thought I mentioned that. Yeah. So that and then in '87 they had the song I featured today, "Tonight, Tonight, Tonight," which went to number 3. And then in '91 they had a song called "No Son of Mine," which went to 12. I'm going to say a little bit about that one. Very moving song, very sad song too. Phil Collins sang lead on that one, and I heard it was because of a memory of his dad when he was a kid saying that he was no son of his and how much that just hurt him, you know. And that's a terrible thing for any parents to say to their children. So don't tell your children, no matter how angry you are, that there are no children of theirs, because that's one of the worst things you could say to the kid. Like, anyways, thought I mentioned that. And then they had a song called "I Can't Dance," which went in the 7. That's another one I remember the MTV video of. Pretty amusing video for that one. It starts with Phil Collins. I guess he's in the desert, and this beautiful woman pulls up to him in a Ferrari. I think she opens the door, and she looks like she's, inviting him into the car, but it's really an armadillo that she lets into her car. But yeah. And then 1992, they had "Hold On My Heart," which went to number 12. "Jesus, He Knows Me," which went to number 23. And "Never a Time," which went to number 21. So a lot of hits for Genesis. Very big band. Never really one of my favorites, though. I mean, remember when I was at University of Michigan, I'm just going to say one more thing about them. I didn't even know who they were until I got to college. And I just remember when I was at the University of Michigan, everybody there, just about everybody I knew, loved Genesis. I mean, they just couldn't get enough of Genesis. And I didn't get what the big deal was. I thought they sounded like a poor man's version of the Beatles. Not anywhere nearly as good as the Beatles, in my opinion, but I kind of got the feeling they were trying to be a little bit like the Beatles, but they failed. That was just kind of my impression of them. And in case you're interested, Paul McCartney, I think Genesis was one of his least favorite bands of all time. I think particularly Phil Collins. I know that Paul McCartney couldn't stand Phil Collins. I don't know what was going on between them, but I'm sure it wasn't very good, whatever it was. And I think Paul McCartney is 10 times a better artist singer than Phil Collins. I do like Phil Collins, but nowhere in the caliber of Paul McCartney or any of the other Beatles, in my opinion. So anyway, I guess that's enough said. I hope I haven't insulted any big Genesis fans here. It's okay band. Nobody can be the Beatles, but anyway. So that completes my feature on "Tonight, Tonight, Tonight" by Genesis. So thank you for watching. You guys rock, and I'll see you next time. Bye.